All right, guys, are we ready? I think we still have a few more strolling in, but I think we better get started. So our goal is to finish at 8, and we've been doing pretty good with that. So I think we're on, which lesson are we on here? Or which, our third?
Lesson 2F.
Oh,
Our third time?
third, yeah.
Yeah. We're on lesson 2, but our third meeting of firm foundations. And I think most of you are aware that we're just trying to discover what the Bible says. And that's without, there's always going to be some, we talked about this, there's always going to be some bias, but with as little bit as possible. We're trying to, what does the Bible really say? What's the message? And we've gone into some detail, which you guys will probably want to catch up if you haven't, about where we get the Bible and can the Bible be trusted. And last week we introduced the topic of who is this God? And I got a little carried away, and we weren't able to finish the lesson. So we'll finish up the lesson today with a little bit about angels. But Garrett is going to do the, I thought of a name for this since Peyton didn't like the name homework. It was the review questions. So we'll do the review questions. No, like homework pressure. And Garrett's going to do that for us. And this is which lesson are you doing, Garrett? For
lesson 2.
Lesson 2?
Lesson number 2. We're going to work through questions 1 through 8. That's where we finished last time. So how we're going to kind of do this, I think, is we'll just start over here with Lori. And she'll read question 1. She doesn't have to give us the answer, but we can all answer, kind of as a group. But we'll just go down the line until we get to question 8. Okay, Lori, you want to take question 1 for us? Read it off.
Was there ever a time when God did not exist?
What did we learn? Huh? No? Yeah.
Eternal.
Yep. The Bible tells us God created all things. So in order for him to create all things, he had to be before all things, before time, matter, and space, which makes him eternal. He's always existed, always will. Michael, you want to take question 2 for us?
Sure. Everlasting, I guess is the first one. Infinite.
Read the question.
What words are used to describe this type of existence? Everlasting, infinite.
Yeah. Okay. Eternal, lasting, timeless, right? Dave, you want to take 3?
What does God mean to exist? Nothing.
Nothing, right? I am who I am. Self-existent. Let's see, Mary, you want to take 4 or you want to pass?
Sure.
Okay.
Does God change? I don't think so.
No?
I
No.
would say no.
No, we learned that he does not change. Does not change like shifting shadows. Casey, you want to take 5?
What do each of these names reveal about God?
So we got the I am. What does that reveal?
He is everything.
Self-existent. Yep. We have Lord. What does that mean?
Overall.
Authority. Yeah. Authority overall. Power. The master. And then the Most High. What is that? I mean, that's...
There's nobody higher.
Yeah.
He's the Most High.
The answer is in the question. Yeah, he's the supreme ruler, sovereign ruler, the Most High, or like above all gods with small g, lowercase g, meaning idols, false gods, false idols, above all things. Cam, you want to take 1 or you want to pass? Okay.
How many gods are there?
Yeah, that was pretty clear from last week, right? Over and over and over through the scriptures we see that he's the only one. He's the first, the last. Apart from him, there is no God. So that's the claim that he makes. Let's see, Jaden, you want to take 7 or you want to pass?
Yeah, no, I can go.
Okay.
Why do you think the Bible emphasizes this point so strongly?
Does it seem like, oh, go ahead.
Ego wants power, right? Everybody, or the ego of the humans all think that they're gonna be better than God, or higher, better, or don't need him, need ourselves,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I
Um,
think it's
yeah.
important that we all know that's not true.
Yeah, I think it's like he wants to make it so clear to us in the Bible that he is the only one. Like it's just over and over and over. It just emphasizes so strongly that there's only one God. It's clear. He obviously wants us to know that.
Yeah, so everyone can know.
Yep. Yeah, everybody. Let's see. Taylor, you want number 8?
Yeah, does
Okay.
God have a body?
What do we think? No? He's not the old man on the throne, right? Up in heaven. No, we learned that God is spirit. And that he's everywhere. All places. At the same time. Which is mind-boggling to think about, but that's what he says about himself. So, okay, I think that catches us up. I think we're on to angels, hosts, and stars now. Section F on lesson number 2 is where we're at. Is everybody ready to go?
All right, so are y'all good? Lesson 2, part F. And, this is kind of we could go on and on about these topics, like especially in the beginning, God. Who is God? What is he like? And we'll be learning more as we go through, but we had to remember we're going to do chronologically. We're going to start from the beginning and work through the Bible, and we're going to link things together, so by the time we get to the end, that your understanding will greatly deepen. And I think you'll understand the message of the Bible, and you'll be able to discern if people tell you something, if it fits or if it doesn't fit. So we're giving you a tool to think for yourself, really, and which is how it should be. And so this next topic, angels, a lot of people have curious questions about angels, and we probably will not answer all those questions for you. This is going to be a brief section. But we have to reach ahead a little bit. We're not getting all the information the Bible says about angels, but we're getting enough because angels show up right away when we start into the Bible. So we needed to have some basic level understanding of who God is. Remember, what we're trying to do is we're kind of treating this like everybody knows something about the Bible and stuff, but we're treating it in a sense like, no, I just don't know anything. Well, so that we can sort of a clean slate almost because there's all sorts of mysteries and rumors and lies and truths out there. And so we want to we're trying to just stick to what does the Bible say. And so we're getting a little bit of information about God. Now we need this little bit of information about angels. And people are going to want to know, do I have a guardian angel? And, things like that. The Bible does give a little bit of information about those things, but that's not really where we're going with this right now. It's who are they? Where do they come from? What's their purpose? Kind of thing. So we're here. Well, I would already switched gears almost. I've headed to the next lesson already. I better go back. So angels were probably God's first creative act. And there's not an abundant information about angels, but there's enough to get an understanding here. And there's different names for angels. There's almost, you could say, classes of angels. There's cherubims, and you got to get this out of your mind, the little floaty, fat little chubby guy with shooting people with an arrow to make them fall in love or whatever it is. That's not my kind of angel, and it's not the Bible's kind of angel either. So those cherubims, seraphim, archangels, morning stars, host. There's just a lot of different names for different types of angels, you could say. So let's look up a few verses. about this. Let's see, Keith, we'll start with you. Hebrews 12:22, and then Sadie, you want to take that Revelation 5:11. You know what, I've got one more that's not on your, it's on your outline later, but I think I'm going to read it now. Sean, would you want to read one? Sure. Is Nehemiah 9:6. And I'll remind you guys, if you have one of these paper Bibles, if you have a phone Bible, then it's easy. You just type it in, right? Paper Bible, you'll learn your way around the Bible a little bit doing this, and so it's handy. But there's a table of contents. Don't be afraid to use that table of contents and find out where some of these places are. Okay? All right, Keith.
But you have come to Mount Zion, to the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You have come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly.
Okay. Say.
Then I looked and heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000. They encircled the throne and the living creatures and the elders.
Okay. And Sean.
5:6?
9:6.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sometimes, Sean, you'll come to find out. Sometimes I don't, but.
You alone are the Lord. You made the heavens, even the highest heavens, and all their starry hosts, the earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them. You give life to everything, and the multitudes of heaven worship you.
Okay, there's a lot there in those few verses. One is, how many angels are there? Okay, there's a slew of them, all right? There's a bunch of angels, and they are powerful. They are powerful beings, and they are not visible, but they can take on a visible form, okay? So, and you get this impression, just if you listen to these verses, that they're like kind of fantastic, glorious beings. That God, and did you hear the verse from Nehemiah of where angels came from? Did you catch that in that one?
No, I was reading.
We understand.
Okay. That could be a classic answer, Sean. Okay. If I ask any of you guys a question, there it is. I'm sorry, I was reading. I was doing my job. Did anybody else besides Sean, since nobody else has that excuse, he was busy doing a task. Where did the angels come from?
They were created by God.
They were created by God. That was obvious in there. Okay. Important concepts here. Okay, so next, angelic beings were created to serve God and to serve his creation, us. They were created to serve God and to do as he desires. Let's go to a couple of verses here, Logan. And remember, you guys, if you don't want to read, if that's like distracts you too much or you won't be able to hear the questions if you read, feel free to say pass, and you can skip over to the next person. Logan, Psalm 103, 20 and 21, and Peyton, Hebrews 1, 14.
Praise the Lord, you his angels, you mighty ones who do his bidding, who obey his word. Praise the Lord, all his heavenly hosts, you his servants who do his will.
Okay, so they are the mighty ones. Don't you like the way, I kind of like the way they term that. The mighty ones who do his bidding. They are messengers, servants of God. Peyton?
I'm looking.
Okay, Hebrews 1, 14.
I'm slow even on the.
And
Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation?
so that's us. They're ministers. They serve us. They're created beings. They're powerful. They are to do what God says. Now, there's a crazy thing here that is in our modern society that we don't really appreciate, and that's the creator-owner principle. It's like in more primitive societies, if somebody makes a canoe, they make a paddle, who owns it? The guy that made it. The guy that made it owns it. You know, even if you bake a cake, you know, that's you bought the ingredients, you put it together, I didn't do this, I don't do this, but some people do. You put it in the oven, you bake a cake, you can do with it as you desire. If you want to share it, or if you want to sit there and eat it all yourself, have at it. You are the maker of the cake. You own it. You can decide what is best. And remember, we've already looked at God is perfect, so his desires are perfect. What he desires and sends them to do is perfect. It's right. But still, there's a concept there that we need to get a hold of as we're going to build on this. But still, angels are not robots. Angels can choose, and we're going to see that some angels did choose. And so they can choose to obey God and follow him, or they can choose not to. And remember, they're not visible, but they can come visible for certain assignments or whatever. And there's plenty of examples in the Bible of this. So we're going to find, was there any other verses on that section? No. Okay, so the next verse is 8:5. Marissa, do you want to look that up? Or Bailey, one of y'all want to look that up? We're going to run into specific classes or types of angels. The first one is the anointed cherub. That's a class of angel, a cherub. And we're going to discover he's one of the most, he's one of the spirit beings that we know the most about. What do you think his name is? Lucifer. So, Lucifer means light bearer. It's not a negative term. In fact, it's where the whole thing of Venus, the planet Venus. It's also before the sun rises in the morning. Some of you guys, you ought to know this. The morning star is going to come up first, and that gives you the direction of where the sun is going to rise from. You see, it's called the morning star, and it's named after Lucifer, the light bearer, and it's the planet Venus. And so he has this special name, this special, probably one of the most, in a sense, beautiful, intelligent, powerful angels that was created. And also he is called the morning star, son of the dawn, the anointed cherub, and he's set apart for a special task. But we know that he runs into trouble, right? Lucifer. And we're gonna go into this more detail later, but he decides he wants to be like God. Not like God in a good way, but like God, like kind of take God's place. It's sort of like he's saying to God, hey, man, you're awesome, you're wonderful. I want to be like you. How did you get like that? I've always been like this. No, I want to be like you. How? It's like he starts getting these desires, and he wants to take God's place. And the way the Bible, and particularly the Old Testament, a lot of times this is going to be talking to the king of Tyre, but really God, the prophet speaking for God is going to be talking to the power behind the king. It'll be obvious when we read this, and he's talking to Lucifer. And you'll see you will learn a little bit about Lucifer from the way the things he says to him. So we'll look at a couple of verses here. Isaiah.
We're going to do Psalm 8:5.
Oh, my bad. Marissa, will you go Psalm 8:5? You guys, y'all have to kind of keep me under like a little bit of a leash. So we have plenty of ones that do that, right? Bailey, Lori, Keith chiming in here.
Takes that many.
It does.
You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor.
Okay, let's talk about us, people. Okay. Then Isaiah 14:12, I believe. Bailey, we're all looking at you. It's your turn, Bailey.
I've got it. I'll read it.
The two are one, right? Go ahead. This half will read.
I was prepared just in case.
You saw that coming, huh?
Focusing. Okay, go ahead.
How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. Okay, so you picked up on that stuff. You already learned what the morning star. There's other names for him there that
that you picked up on there. And then Ezekiel 28, 14 and 15. Taylor, are you with us? Okay, good.
You were anointed as guardian cherub, for so I anointed you, or ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked along the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created until wickedness was found in you.
Okay, so he was made perfect. He chose to not follow God at one time. Something about his job must have kept him in the very presence of God at most of the time. Maybe he led worship and praise to the Creator. But we'll learn some more. We're going to, later, we'll find out exactly what it was that he did that got him into trouble. And so it's interesting, but we'll get into that later. So I think part 6, we already read the Nehemiah 9:6, but why don't we read that again? Is that who are you? Jaden, are you up?
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
You alone are the Lord. You made the heavens, even the highest heavens, and all their starry hosts, the earth and all that is on it, and seas and all.
So we learned from some of these other verses too that the angels and all of heaven worshiped God. That was one of the things that they did. It's not like their arms were being twisted or they were forced. It's just that they were in awe. It was a voluntary thing, and that they just, it came natural. They just worshiped. They worshiped God, whether that's through song or just words, whatever. They were worshiping God. And again, it was said there, He made them. They were created beings by God. And so now this is the last verse to kind of wrap up our quick little thing on angels. This is really a cool verse, I think, and it has I think what this is picturing is that all the angels, the first created beings, watched God as He did the creating. And they're like, whoa, that is awesome. And so they're watching God do this. I think that's what this verse is referring to. Do you have this, Cameron? Okay. You have this? Casey?
Are you going to Psalm or are you going to Job?
Yeah, you had Psalm
Job
86:10, but
You going
4:7.
to Job?
Oh, you know what? Since I just talked about it,
Go to Job?
let's go to Job.
Okay.
And Mary, would you take that Psalm one?
Sure.
Okay.
I couldn't find it last time, right?
Psalm 86:10. Go ahead and read yours first, Mary. Okay. Y'all got to stay on your toes, all right? Do y'all know a trick to find Psalms?
What?
Middle.
In the middle.
Go to the middle of your Bible. You'll be close. All right, Casey, you let it, or did she already find it? My bad, I messed you up. I'm sorry.
86:10. So,
Quit.
Okay. For you are great and do marvelous deeds. You alone are God.
Okay, there again, that was just an example of the angels worshiping God. Now the verse I was talking about, Casey.
okay.
38, Job 38, 4-7.
Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set, or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy.
Okay, so Joe, catch that. He's making a point to Job, okay? You know, Job, you're not as smart as you think you are. You're dealing with me, God, the Creator. Where were you when I was doing all this stuff? And just as a side note, he mentions the angels that are out there watching this and just singing and glorifying God and going, whoa, look at, oh, this is awesome. And so that's kind of what's going on there. All right. We're leaving angels. We'll come back to them, particularly that one, your favorite, Lucifer. And we'll learn about God creating. What?
Nothing, sorry.
I can't sit across.
Or beside Micah. You just got to go to the other room.
Got snacks if you want.
All right, so if y'all, we're moving on here. Lesson number 3. All right, are y'all ready to take notes? Does anybody need a pen? Oh, look, I dropped the pens. Look how they landed.
You didn't do that.
Thank you, Peyton. Okay, it's my weak little design over here. But, you know, I automatically, without thinking, I said design because Peyton, as he so intelligently pointed out, I didn't just drop them and they land like that. Because you saw that crude design and you just assumed something, didn't you? There was a designer. There's a design there. There's a designer. What, Casey?
Nothing. That's funny.
I am clever. Lori doesn't always agree, but
I'll have to edit
I'm glad you appreciate that. So, the Bible starts with the assumption of God. In the beginning, God. It's like this, dun, 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 it's just this bold statement. The Bible just starts off, it just kicks right into the deep end. In the beginning, God. And it could start off with trying to prove God, but it's like, you know, if you're the most basic, if you're walking through the woods and you see like a stone, the remains of a stone wall, you go, oh man, somebody was here. Somebody built that. I mean, just the most crude, basic design of a wall, much less like a watch or a human being, that such complexity does not happen out of chaos. What's that? Is that the second law of thermodynamics? That you do not get structure and order out of chaos. So that's not a religious thing, that's science. That you don't get structure and order does not happen chance out of chaos. There's no example, it does not happen. Now, we do have the opposite. Order does disintegrate into chaos. That's common. That's the way things go, you know? What? You straighten up your garage, clean up your room. What is the teenagers will always say, why should I make my bed? It's going to be a mess tonight when I crawl into it. So it's like, that's the way things go, from order to chaos, but not the opposite. They do not naturally go from chaos to order. It's a very, it's a simple, the most simple design, much less, which we've already talked about, the heavens and the earth. There is order in everything. There is order, like on the most expanse of even that large little section of the Milky Way galaxy, you have our solar system. But it is order. There's the sun and the planets are revolving around the sun. And, it's such consistent order, which we know the sun's going to come up. We know where it's going to come up. We know it's going to set. We know the moon's going to come up. Are y'all familiar? This was years ago. The space probe, the Galileo, that was going to Jupiter. It was sent. So, if you can imagine, here we are, the Earth flying through space, spinning right on the axis. We're spinning like this, flying through space. Jupiter's way over there, flying through space. So we're on a moving, spinning target. And if Corbin's here, I'd always use him as an example of being able to be on his razor, spinning donuts with his rifle and shoot a running deer, or maybe a rabbit.
You gotta shoot if it's standing there.
What's that?
I wish he was here for that.
You can tell it. But if anybody can do it, he can do it, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing, and it took 6 years for it to get there. So you may say, wow, Corbin's an awesome shot, or wow, those scientists really, man, they really got it together. Well, no, it's not really the scientists that have it together. They are counting on the reliability, the consistency, the organization of the universe, that they know that planet's going to be exactly in that spot in 6 years. And they can send that probe to that spot and the planet's going to be there, and they're going to intersect. And it worked. It worked. It works for us. If you know, back home in Georgia, if you're going to go, we could plan a fishing trip. It's on the coast. We could plan a fishing trip. We could go out on the pier, and we want to fish at high tide. We could plan our trip for 5 years from now, and it accepted. Oh, high tide is at 3:02 p.m. Oh, that's perfect. I'll go fishing then. That's how consistent. That's how consistent. That's design. That's organized. That's structure, down to the smallest particle of an atom, of the nucleus with the electrons on the outside, just like in a sense like our planets. There's structure, organization, design to the universe. It's like nobody questions. You find a watch laying on the ground. Nobody questions that it spontaneously, whoop, there it came about on its own. Or somebody is like, it would be like go down to Home Depot and just go load everything in the back of a dump truck that you need to build a house. Everything you need. 2x4s, 2x6s, concrete, nails, staples, shingle, everything. Pile it in, and then go in reverse 90 miles an hour and slam on the brakes and let it all come out. And let's see if a house happens to form in that. There has to be a design. There has to be a designer. The chairs you're sitting in, if think about what it took. There's metal, so there had to be a mining operation to get the metal. There's the rubber little thing on the end there. That's from the petroleum industry. Then you have the fabric. Then it's like, whoa. Then you have to have electricity to do that. It's like, man, just to make a chair. And we think we're something because we can design and do these things. But we look at the universe, look at the atom, look at the massive organization and structure. And so, when the Bible starts off, in the beginning, God, it assumes God, it assumes a designer, it assumes a creator. And I wager to say that I could argue with the smartest guy in the world, and I'm way down here. But he has no answer for me. He has no answer for me on this. So the Bible starts off. There is God. This is the God. This is the God that we're dealing with. So we bump into that concept immediately in the Bible. All right, Genesis 1:1. Where are we?
Just one?
Go ahead and read 1 through 5. Let's go ahead and get a little overview there. We'll read 1 through 5. But we're looking at 1:1, though, basically, where we just bump into this concept, profound concept of creation, no workshop, no tools. We can't comprehend it. What it took for us to do this chair, all the different people, all the different everything, but the universe was made. This should make anybody go, whoa, I want to know more. I want to know more. It should not be, oh, I'll never get that. No, it should be, I want to know more. This should be our response to this concept. We just bumped into it in the first paragraph of the Bible. Go.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day.
Okay, just want to give you a look ahead just a minute. We'll be looking into each one of these verses as we go through. But let's talk a little bit more. Let's get about God. Jeremiah 23, and 24. Is that on your outline?
It's a little bit further down, but yeah.
Am I only a God nearby, declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Who can hide in secret places so that I cannot see them, declares the Lord. Do not I fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord.
So only a perfect combination of attributes could accomplish all this we're talking about. All-knowing, all-powerful, everywhere at once. This is I'll tell you, you guys need to be alert to this, is that people will try to put God into a box and explain to you everything about him and what he's like. And you go, well, wait a minute. That's not the God I read about in the Bible. That's not the God I'm reading about. Let's go to the ones we skipped over there, Lori. Would you just read Psalm 147, the whole of verse 5 there?
Great is our Lord and mighty in power. His understanding has no limit.
Okay. Are y'all catching this? Here we're kind of reviewing this a little bit, but of the God that we're talking about. We need to get just a little bit of a grasp on this. And Jeremiah 51:15. Y'all be patient. We're going to just read through a few verses here, so y'all just hang in there.
He made the earth by his power, he founded the world by his wisdom, and stretched out the heavens by his understanding.
So angels don't have that kind of power. Humans don't even come close to having that kind of power. But all of this came from somewhere. It came from something. It had a beginning. That's what the Bible says. And then Jeremiah 32:17. Am I going in order here, Keith?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
32:17.
Yeah.
Ah, sovereign Lord, you have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and your outstretched arm. Nothing is too hard for you.
And then Sadie, we said that Isaiah 40:28. Is that where you are?
40:28, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 28. Do you not know, have you not heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom.
Again, none of us can be compared at all to God, who knows how to create something from nothing. Ex nihilo, he creates something from nothing. We're at Genesis 1:3.
God said, "Let there be light," and there was light.
So now we'll start to get into the actual creation. You know what, Sean? Let me back you up. Let's see. Well, that's okay. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And so he created, in a sense, the mass of the earth, and the earth was covered in, remember, it was a lot different. It was dark, it's covered in water. And then the first thing that God did was he spoke light into existence. And he called the light day, and he called the darkness night. And so we're going to see that with this, that the first day was complete. The mass of the earth, and there was darkness, and there was light. There was day, and there was night. But he's going somewhere. We won't look up this verse right now, but in Isaiah 40:21-22, it says he stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. So he's headed somewhere here. He's preparing the earth to be inhabited. All right, Genesis 1, 6-8. This is day 2. So we're just going to kind of work through these days.
And God said, "Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so."
Now, there are a lot of things that there's much debate on, and there's an organization called, and you might want to write this down if you have a lot of questions on this, you want to research on your own. It's called AnswersInGenesis.org, and there is so much information there that they are, and these guys are not. This is not like pseudoscience. These guys are real scientists, and they've done in-depth study on these things, and so it's a really fascinating A lot of information on that website.
Do you
So,
want me to read verse 8 as well?
yes.
Okay. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day.
Okay, so this is an unusual day, and it seems that, so the water was covered, the earth was covered in water, and then he separated water from water, and then there was the sky. So it appears, some of these scientists, they discuss this endlessly. You can go into some of their debates and stuff if you want to go research it. That there was this water vapor that was in the atmosphere, that was outside of the atmosphere, that enveloped the earth and even possibly our solar system. That there's this water, this protective covering, and there's a lot of things that point to that say, okay, that because of there was a uniform climate at one time on the earth. Okay, that's just, there's no arguing that. That's common knowledge. You go the oil fields in Wyoming. It's like there was lush. That didn't come from sagebrush. There's lush vegetation there at one time in Wyoming, and there was even more of an even climate. And there's so much evidence for this. It's not really an argument around the whole earth. And so a lot of this we're going to also discover, there was not so much drastic change in the seasons. There were still seasons, but so that's why there's so many, like you can find T-Rex, remains of T-Rex up, like I said, in Wyoming and stuff that needed vegetation and a warmer climate to live in. So the climate was different at one time. And so that is a possible solution to that. I can't say that's a interpretation of what's there. That's not exactly what it's saying, but it's okay. Scientists are saying this could have been the situation: a more even climate, protect from ultraviolet rays. That there was a more less drastic weather during this time period. So that's just one possible meaning of the water separated from water. But still, the earth is now, we still have it covered in water. Okay, I just had a slew of verses here. Do we have them on the first one? Okay, I didn't give them all to you, so I've just got them on mine. So let's go to verses 14 to 19. Is that where we are?
9 to 13.
9 to 13, my bad. 9 to 13.
Day 3.
Day 3. This is the dry land, oceans, and all the flora, plant life that's created.
9:13.
And God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and gathered the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day.
Okay, so at the beginning of day 3, there was still one vast ocean, and it says specifically the water under the vault or the sky. So it's talking about the water that's on this earth. That it appears that, and from other verses we read in Psalms, that the ocean bottoms, the way that land appeared was the ocean bottoms sank, and dry land appeared. And so the oceans were formed, dry land appeared, and the next was the creation of plants and trees. And again, God is preparing the world to be inhabited. Plant life to provide for physical needs of food, oxygen, wood for building, this sort of things. And notice that each plant after its kind. In other words, you don't plant a tulip bulb and get a cedar tree. It's like, no, that's what they produce. They produce like kind. That's just common knowledge. That's the way it works. And then day 4 is he's already spoken light into existence. Now he's gonna create the light givers, like the sun, the stars, the moon, those things. So 14 to 19.
And God said, let there be lights in the vault above the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years, and let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on earth. And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day and lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 4th day.
Okay, this is sun, moon, and stars. Did anybody have a guess about how long these days were? Where it says, what do you think it's talking about? What's the length of time?
24 hours?
Why do you think that?
He said day.
There was dark, there was light, there was day one. It's like, it's speaking of 24-hour days here. That's what it's, there's no, you can't reach into the Hebrew and try to extract some, I've searched it out, and it's like, no, a day means a day. Yom is the Hebrew word that means day, if you want to know. One yom. So that's the implication here. 24-hour days, and well, we'll get into the time. We'll get into the time a little later. I know some of you go, "Oh, that's not what I was taught." So we'll get into the length of time for creation a little more later. So sun, moon, and stars. Again, there's a master designer is at work. Like we mentioned the title charts and sending the probe out. You know, it's like, no, there is a design, and it's consistent, and it's organized. It's not happen chance. It's not random. There's no way you could think that Jupiter being in exactly the right place, exactly the right time, or casting off the St. Simon's Island Pier 5 years, that you planned 5 years ago at a very specific time. That is not random. There's precision and design to the universe. There just is. There is a designer that's behind this. So our whole planet relies on those predictable patterns, and we observe those in the physical laws. Gravity, we observe those, and we study those through like astronomy, biology, physics, chemistry, and God established these physical laws to hold the universe together with astonishing precision. There's a verse, we won't go there, Colossians 1:17, that says, He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. In other words, it's like God made these laws, and He's holding it all together, and if He decided to take His hands off, that it would just sling apart. That's the implication. Ask a scientist what gravity is, and you'll get a whole long mumbo-jumbo. What is gravity? Explain that to me. It's like, well, it's this huge object, and it attracts a smaller object. What does that mean? These are laws that God put in place. But we respect them, don't we? You're up putting the Christmas lights on, and it's 2 stories down. You have great respect for the laws that God put into place. There's a consequence for ignoring those laws, isn't there? There is a consequence. You ignore it, you'll pay the consequences. And that's the way, that's kind of gives us a little something about a reflection of God's nature and the laws that He puts into place. All right, day 5. Garrett's over here. I can feel you, Garrett. Get moving.
Oh, we're good. So we're 10 minutes late.
I like this bank system you got going for me here.
You went 4 minutes over the last time, so.
Okay, oh man, so we're back to 6 now. Okay, all right, 8:06. You watch for me, Garrett. All right,
Wait, husband, are you reading?
day 5.
No,
Oh,
you're up.
You're on your own. You've been set loose.
I got you last time.
Okay. And God said, let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which the water teems, and that moves about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God said that it was good. And God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the waters in the sea, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there was evening and there was morning, the 5th day.
Okay, the 5th day, God created the whole array of sea life and birds. And somebody is wondering about evolution, so I just asked the question for you on your outline there. We'll get to that. we'll touch on that today. We'll go into more detail later if y'all want to. But let's go ahead to day 6, big day, and see what God did on day 6, and then we'll talk a little bit. We'll touch on evolution in 6 minutes. So, day 6 is that? Who's up? Verses 24 and 25.
24 and 25?
Yep.
And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kind, the livestock according to their kind, and all creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good.
Okay, so I could get off into a rabbit hole here because I love this stuff, the science of it, and I'll try to limit that. But at the same time, if you have questions that are like the reason we're gonna what?
Harlow's dad's here.
Oh,
It's okay.
okay. He's right. There's some comfortable chairs out there.
Invite him in.
Okay. Okay, so we're not going to have much time. We can get into this next week if we want to. But so I want you to bring your questions, or you can even bring them up before we get out of here tonight if you want to talk about them next week. But notice it said each kind according to its kind. We mentioned this even with the plants. But with animals, it's like here again, you don't have to. If you have a cattle rancher over here, and he's got his 1,000 acres, then you have a pig farmer over here, and he's got his 40 acres. You don't have to worry about the cows jumping the fence and having some kind of crazy thing happen with the pigs. That doesn't happen. Okay, it's each kind after its kind. So kind is it's not the same as species. It's similar, but so if we say, well, what, man, there's wolves, there's cows, there's dingoes. No, there's the dog kind. The dog kind. And so what the one primary problem with evolution is you have to add genetic information. Okay, so you have this creature in the water, and it looks like maybe it has these 2 appendages. Oh, those were arms at one time, or those are going to be arms when it crawls out onto land. And it's like, no. For that thing to develop legs and arms, you have to add genetic information. If you started off with that one dog, the genetic information in that one dog, the 2 dogs, was all the genetic information we have in the dogs to this day. There was the genetic information to have a Great Dane and a Chihuahua in there. Now, as that goes along, you lose genetic information. If you have Great Danes, you're raising Great Danes, you have no concern about a Chihuahua showing up. The pen. It's not going to happen. That information has been lost. It's been lost. It's gone. Do you see what I'm saying? So for evolution to happen, you need to add genetic information to this, and it does not happen. It doesn't happen like that. So you have great variety within the kinds. Any horse kind. Think about it, from a zebra to a donkey to the wild Mustangs. There's so much variety in the horse kind. And it could be that original horse kind looked nothing like any of the horses we have today. Well, it would look something like it. But you know what I'm saying? That specific kind may not exist anymore. But, I mean, the specific variety. So the kind still exists. Are y'all with me on that at all? So, and there's, we're going to get into, when we talk about the flood, we'll get into dinosaurs, we'll get into geological ages, and we'll get into the fossil record. Because when you start looking at the fossil record, it destroys some of the accepted geological ages that we have. But there's scientists that study. We'll talk about how the Grand Canyon was formed. And I do not. Are we wrapping up here? Did I go off on a tangent here?
Just a little.
Okay,
No, you're good.
all right. We'll get into this later, but I stood on the edge of the Grand Canyon for the first time. Poor boy out of South Georgia standing there looking at the Grand Canyon, 19 years old. And I looked down there at the Colorado River, a mile below. And I looked at that sign, and it said, cut this canyon in millions and millions of years. And I looked at the canyon, I didn't know anything from anything, and I said, that ain't the way it happened. I know it didn't. That is not what happened right here. I could look at it. And then I started studying the Bible, and I said, oh, okay. And studying the flood. And see what scientists that looked at it with an objective eye of what they had to say about it. And we'll get into that later. Where did the Grand Canyon come from? How did that happen? All right, we'll talk about that later. So, I think we're going to wrap it up. But we'll talk about the creation of man and woman, and what was that like? Interesting stuff.